Thank you. And thanks to Emilia, thank you very much, and to the co-organizers. And we welcome this focus on informality. As you say, this is in the core business of the Cities Alliance. And as we have the discussion, obviously the focus is on the immediate and the short term, the crisis that's in front of us now. But I really hope that that mayors and city leaders recognize how essential it is that short-term responses are guided by long-term visions of where the city needs to be going, so we don't return to the old normal. And as we know, the urban growth that we see taking place is so often unplanned, it's informal, it's incremental, and results in these large informal settlements in these slums. Now, Emilia, you referred to, and I recognize that, the recognition that in some cases mayors are part of the problem. Let's focus rather on what successful mayors do, because there are many successful mayors around, and that's what we want to endorse and support. Successful mayors recognize that informal areas, what we call them, is in fact their city. It's part of their city. And successful mayors own the whole city and act on all of the people living in that area and call them citizens, all of them. This is the thinking, this is the mind shift. And as I was reflecting on preparing for this, you know, the mind shift we want to, if COVID-19 doesn't discriminate, why do governments? This is where we really have to put our thinking. So successful mayors, how do we measure what a successful mayor is doing? Speeches are nice. More important for the people living in the informal areas, the residents and the workers there, that they're on the map, they're in the city plan, they're part of the medium-term strategy of the city. And above all else, they're on the budget, they're in. That's the test of how change happens. And successful and accountable governments do not use COVID-19 as a cover for forced evictions, for once again attacking the urban poor, workers and settlers. And I really welcome, Emilia, under your leadership, the attention that UCLG has given to this. We know it's not an easy topic, but it is something that these are real and significant abuses of human rights, anti-developmental, and never solve the problem. So we see moving forward, and this is what we must work towards, beyond just the language. What I'm talking about with the successful mayors working with the citizens, that's part of the kind of partnership that we're going to hear today in the presentations between successful local governments and communities. And where, in particular, in the cities in which we work, the most pivotal change is how land is dealt with in those cities. Because the informal settlements, the overcrowding in slums, the resolution to insufficient land is more land, better located land, accessible, affordable land, land that is serviced as a matter of course and not by default, and where people's long-term rights to the city are recognized as citizens. And this is going to be on show today, and we know from all of the evidence, it's locally generated solutions that are the most sustainable and the longest lasting, which is what we provide support to rather than insert ourselves into. So that's the first level, the partnership. The second that needs to change in relationship is between national governments and local and regional governments. And here, national governments have a clear responsibility to provide robust policy frameworks, to be clear about roles and responsibilities, not competing, but sharing within one system. And above all else, in being equitable about the sharing of resources. And the mindset, again, is for national government not to think that they are superior and that sub-regional government is inferior, but they are partners running the same system. That is a big shift that is necessary, and we must support local and regional governments in changing that mindset. And I think ultimately the biggest role in responding to not just the immediacy of the COVID-19, but all of the fault lines that the crisis is demonstrating. As good as the mayors can be and as wonderful as some national governments are, most city and national governments do not have the resources, the skills, everything they need to deliver what we say that they need to do. And I see a very significant role for the international community to provide consistent and long-term support that is built around not the import of external skills, but builds and utilizes local skills, local capacity, local initiatives, and that they stay for the long term. We cannot be fixing this in 18 or 20 month or 48-month cycles. This is, can we change this to the long term? The agenda, as the secretary, as the executive director of UN Habitat has already said, the agenda exists. We have the Sustainable Development Goals, which promise to leave no place and no one behind. And if we can green this, then maybe this can be a turn, but that's on the optimistic side. So that's our thinking. That's our approach. It's really, we now have to build these forces. They exist at local level. Build on those. We don't need the international community coming in and saving local communities. We rather build on initiatives that are already underway. Thank you, Amelia.